Capturing, editing artful water droplets is our topic today on Luminar Coffee Break. Let's see what we can accomplish in 10 minutes or less, starting now. Hello, everyone, and welcome. All right, so this is actually one of my favorite topics. My buddy Russ, who's actually here, part of the Skylum insiders that are watching it live, Russ and I went in, and let me just show you it. We created a bunch of these water droplets because, if I'm not mistaken, a good friend of ours, my former co-host, Angela Andrew, her mother was doing stuff like this. So Russ and I decided to do it over a weekend, and we came up with some pretty interesting images. Now, I'm not going to go through the edits of it, but this is before, this is after. I just needed to get a development and just to show you what it looks like real quick, because again, that's not part of the tutorial. It's here. All I did was under develop raw, from here, messed with the contrast, but most importantly, if you come down here to color, look what I did here. I did custom, but really I moved this down to tungsten and then cranked the blue slider all the way to the left. That, in the old days, it was what cross-processing your film. So the concept is still the same. I just wanted it to be a blue image. Then from here, I worked a little bit on structure, added another development. I erased some of these little water droplets that are all over the place, the splashes. And I also removed, believe it or not, a dust spot that I had. So that's how I edited this image here. All right. But the most important thing I want to show you guys is what I'm about to show you next. All right. I love how all this looks. In fact, let me get back to the erase tool for a moment. Let me get rid of this little water droplet. Not that it makes that big of a deal, but I want to get rid of it for now. Okay, that's good. Now I have it all set. I'm going to duplicate this background layer. Now that I duplicated it, it's on top, right? Well, what I need to do now is I'm going to take that image. Let me hide myself. I'm going to take that image, and on the layers properties, I'm going to flip it. Once I flip it, I'm sure I flipped it. There it is. Let's see. Interesting. Why is it not flipping on me? One moment. Let me try this. I'm going to remove it. Let's try it again. Duplicate it. Let me just double check to make sure. Yep. Oh, I see what I did. Yeah, so I'm going to flip it here. And let me hide the bottom layer for a moment. Yep. Okay, so my image isn't flipping the way I want it to flip. 1 second. Let me just double check to make sure it's not something I'm doing. In fact, when something like this happens, the best thing to do is I am going to restart Luminar Neo because I've been doing a bunch of edits all morning long. So, yeah, I may have done something to the catalog, or the image itself, now that I think about it, is on my external NAS drive or desktop drive, and now it's switched. Look at this. All right, so all right, so let me. I guess my first reaction was to just quickly reboot Luminar just in case something went wrong inside Luminar. I should have trusted it. It's my my NAS drive. That's what the problem is. For whatever reason, it falls asleep. And when it falls asleep, the image that I bring into Luminar Neo ends up having issues. So I should have trusted Neo. So Neo, I apologize. That's on my end. Let me just close and see if I can close it out. I did. Now let's see if I could reboot it without it giving me an issue. All right. So here it comes. One moment. And right when I shut it down is when it flipped. So that tells me it is my RAID device, not my NAS device. I'm sorry, my RAID device. All right, so here we are. There we are. Thank you, Neo. All right, so there I am. Now I have it set. I just flipped it. The reason why I flipped it is I want to make it look more symmetric. So here it is. Now what I'm going to do is just bring this down a little bit just so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to move it over into place. You can see where I'm heading with this, huh? Look at this. Bring it over. I want it right about there. I'm using the arrow keys to nudge it just a little bit. All right. And there I have it. Now, there it is. All right. So what I need to do now is figure out, well, what are the areas I want to keep? What are the areas I want to get rid of? All right. So from here, I do know I want this whole section on this side here. So from the masking tool, brush, let's do paint. I'm going to paint in the effect. And I want to paint in this here. I'm going to get the brush size really, really big. So I'm going to paint in this half of the image. All right. And now in doing that, here we go. Now you can see a little bit more in detail where it's at. All right, let's see. Yep, so now that means I'm going to move it over until I get it exactly the way I want it. And I think I want it, oh, I just had it right here. There we go. There we have it. And I'm making it a little bit different from the first time I did it. So let's bring it up. That's it. There we go. Now I got the look I'm going for. And I can take the brush size again. Let's see if I erase this area up in here. Let's see what that does. Nope, I want to paint it in. Let's see what that does. Good. So this is the artistic side where you just take your time and you start to figure out what's going to look good, what's going to look bad. So this right here, I don't like. So I'm going to try to get rid of it again. And all I'm doing is I'm bouncing back and forth. There we go. Between paint and erase. All right. And notice I'm using the keyboard shortcut X. So, and when I do that, notice over here, paint and erase keeps changing. So I got it right here. And just because I have you guys here waiting, what I'm going to do is just be happy with what I got there. All right. So I like what I have right here. All right. So I have it set. I'm going to scooch it over just a little bit. Scooch a word. Good. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Already, I love what it's doing already. Now, here is a little shortfall with our layers, and we've talked to engineering about this, and I'm hoping we're going to solve this issue real soon. We can't merge our layers yet. All right, so that's something we're working on. So what I have to do in the meantime is this. So instead of merging the layers, I'm going to click my folder, browse, and let's put it, let's see where it came from. Let's see, E drive, photography. Did I put water droplets? Please say I did. You know what? I can't remember the exact, well, actually, I'll have to figure out later where I actually put it. So for now, what I'm going to do is put it on my D drive, and I'm just going to put it somewhere on my D drive for me to pull it from. So I'll select that folder, and I'm going to leave it as a JPEG. Yes, I could and should bring it in as a TIFF, but for now, JPEG is fine because I want to deal with a smaller file size. So I'm going to export it. And once it exports, it's going to merge those two layers together. So engineers, once we get this fixed and I'm able to merge my layers, then I can actually skip that step. All right. So now that I did that, let me bring it in, add an image. And if I knew exactly where I had it, let's see, D drive, yep, it's right here. I wouldn't have to do this extra step. All right, so here's that image that we just dealt with, and I'm going to deal with all of this stuff in a moment. But overall, I like where it's at. However, now I get to have fun. I'm going to use the erase tool, and I want to come over here and just start cleaning up the unpredictable water droplets and splashes. All right. Not a whole lot, but that looks good there. All right, and then let's come back to structure. And I want to really bring out structure. And I don't like this blob that I have right over here. That's okay because we can fix that using other techniques. But for now, ooh, I like how that's looking. I'm going to boost up a little bit. Yeah, look what that's doing for that. The creature. Let's call it the creature. So I have this set. And I'm going to duplicate it. Now that, and by the way, the reason why I wanted to work on that image first is when I come over here to edit the history, right here, I want those edits to be duplicated on top of the next layer. Had I just duplicated the bottom of this layer right here, let me get rid of this. If I just were to duplicate this, then any changes I make up here will be independent from the bottom layer. Well, I want them to be the same for now. All right, now that I have it set, well, let's come over here to develop, and I want to darken this just a little bit. And again, this right here, this blob is bothering me. So why don't we do this? I'm going to duplicate this again. And I just want to fix that real quick. So I'm going to move this way over, and actually, let me do this instead. I want this over here. So if I flip it, yep, there we have it. Mask, brush, paint in the effect. And I want to paint this in over here. There we go. All right, good. So you see how I quickly, I just did a real quick fix. I copied or cloned this part, brought it over to this part, and I'm good to go. So now that I have this here, unfortunately, I have to export it one more time. And once our engineers, again, fix this, well, I shouldn't say fix it. Once they add that feature, I wouldn't have to do this. So let's export it. Now that I have my image right where I want it, this is where I'm going to add just a little extra fun to it. Now, so keep this in mind. Add a single image. And I did tell it was version 2. Yep, right there. So keep in mind, at this point, what we could do now is just get really creative because I have it on its own layer. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to Enhance AI. I want to make a global change. So I want everything to be changed. Now I'm going to make a local change. And I'm going to use the radial gradient. And by the way, the engineers, look what they did. They snuck in a little update for us. Now the gradient is selecting the center and not the outer. I know that may not seem like a big deal, but if you start creating a lot of these radials, I hate having to hit invert. So right now they have it set the way it should be. Now look what I just did. Look how I just added that little extra glow to it just by using the Enhance AI. Now, from this point, I can go in and start doing more edits and more changes, and each one will be slightly different from the last one based on the way I do my changes. So I love how that looks. Let me come down here to the water droplet. Here we go. So here was this one here. I'm going to hit revert to original. So here's the original that we started with. Then we just did a real quick edit to it. And then from here, this one looks totally different. I actually like the new one that we just did much better. But then look what we just did. We came up and did something a little creative. So I'm going to come back up here to single image edit. Oh, look at that. I'd love the second one that we did much better. All right. So there you have it. Being able to have a little fun with the water droplets. Now, to create this or to photograph this, we used a device. And if you go up on Amazon and just type in water droplet device, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But what was the way I was able to do it was you connect this device to your camera. And your lights are all set up. Ready for this? The moment I hit the trigger, or the shutter on my camera, it triggers the lights. It triggers the water droplet to come down. And then at the precise moment, it knows exactly when to take that photo. And there we have it. Now, a good friend of mine laughed when I told him about this and said, back in the old days when we did this with milk, we had to manually time it. So when that water droplet hit and then bounced up, we had to time it to get it down. Power to him. I'll tell you, Russ and I both were so frustrated the first 100 shots because we weren't setting it up correctly. But once we got that rhythm going, and once we got the camera in sync with the water, then we could tell it, you know what? Drop 2 droplets. And then a lot of these droplets, let's see if I have them for you. I hope I do. Adjustments. Please say I do. All right, people. I'm going to treat you to my screw-ups. So here's the very first one. And we worked all the way through. And notice, you can see what's happening with each of the water droplets and the different stages that goes about. Then we got really smart and we decided to put a pencil with the writing on it in the water like this. And the reason for it is we could focus on the words. So by focusing on the words, that's what was able to make it to where we made sure that everything stayed in focus. Let me pull it up. Here it is. Yeah, so look at these. Look how it's so unpredictable. Oh, I love that one. I'm going to favor it. Oh, there's one we just did. And then you get to the point, there it is. So by putting the pencil in the image, if the words on the pencil weren't sharp, then we knew the water droplets weren't going to be sharp. So that looks like a little question mark. So just so you know, I just realized that these were the ones we started doing good on. So the other ones that were just absolutely horrible were the ones I think I either have in a separate folder. But look at this. And at each time that we changed the background colors and we just went through. But like I said, you get lost for hours trying to create something really, really cool. And then after a while, they start to take on a life of their own. Look at this. And you just have to be extremely patient with it and work at it and get it down. My suggestion is do it with a friend because you can bounce ideas back and forth with each other. And on a lot of these settings, the camera never changed. It was the software to use that droplet. That was the one that we struggled with trying to get that down. But like I said, once we got it down, it was consistent after a while. All right. So I hope you guys had fun doing that. And I couldn't have created that little extra spark if I didn't have Neo to help me flip the image, manipulate it, and work it from there. All right. Now, by the way, for if you're watching this on YouTube or if you're watching this on the rebroadcast, if you want to join us live, there's the link right here, skylum.events/Luminar coffee break. And the benefits behind that is that you could stick around for the Ask Me Anything segment to where we could talk about this topic more in detail, or for the next 45 minutes, You can ask any question whatsoever on photography, editing, tech support for Luminar Neo. The platform is yours. All right? So if you're here, please stick around. Everyone else, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you at the next coffee break.